J.J. Watt. Pass is caught. Diggs! Side he broke his ankles. Lightning strike from McCaffrey.
We're having fun. We get to have fun here. This is what it's all about.
Free agency has arrived. So has episode 42 of the Swank Tank. Welcome into the show. I'm your host, Ryan Swankowski. If you are new around here, welcome in. We keep inching closer to 1,000 followers on Instagram. We're already still around 5.4K on TikTok, getting closer to 500 subscribers on YouTube. If you are not already, make sure and go and follow on all these socials at the Swank Tank. If you are watching on YouTube, you might see the new microphone right in front of my face. I love it. Great gift from the GF for Valentine's Day. Came in a little late, but it's fantastic. Hopefully the quality is great. Hopefully you're hearing it and it's turning out well. First time ever being used. Hopefully it's sounding good. Welcome into the show. We have so much to talk about involving free agency, which opens, here in just a few days, Monday, noon Eastern time, the legal tampering period opens. This free agent class is loaded, absolutely loaded. I've picked 15 players to discuss, talk about, break down their seasons, break down their careers, really. And then I'm going to predict to you where I think they land their new home in 2026. So 15 free agents. Again, there's so many we could discuss, but I brought it down to 15. 15 I not only wanted to talk about, but I thought were very, very important as well. We're going to break down maybe why they're leaving, how much money they're expected to maybe get, and I will predict their new team and new home for 2026. Appreciate you so much for being here as always. We got the new banner up top as well. We got the new banner, new mic. Making improvements here slowly but surely at the Swank Tank. There is no off season. We're 24/7, 365 NFL only. Appreciate you tapping in as always so much. I really do. All right, no more wasting any more time here. Let's get straight into the first free agent I want to talk about for 2026 and predicting his new home for the 2026 season. Let's do it. We mentioned there in the intro, Monday, noon Eastern, free agency, legal tampering, I should say, opens. The actual free agency window where deals can officially be done is Wednesday, March 11th at 4 Eastern time. But we know come Monday, whether you're in school, whether you're at work, wherever you are, if you have notifications on from Adam Schefter, your phone will be blowing up. And for this 2026 free agent class in itself, it will be blowing up with even bigger news and even bigger storylines than usual because this class is stacked. It's absolutely stacked. So we can't cover every single player in free agency. We're not going to get to a lot of the key offensive linemen that are going to hit the 2026 free agent market. We do have one in there, don't you worry. But we're going to highlight these 15 big-time players, predict where they're going. Number one, we'll start it off with what is seemingly the, quote, hot commodity of the quarterback free agent class. Malik Willis, quarterback, Green Bay Packers. And Malik is 100% gone, right? That's been decided. When he came in the 2025 season for an injured Jordan Love, he played really well. He didn't play that many games. He played 4 games in 2025. He had over 500 total yards and 5 touchdowns. So with Malik Willis, you know what you're getting a little bit. You're getting a dynamic player. And supposedly he's supposed to get a contract around roughly $30 million-ish a year. Where is Malik going to sign? So I think Malik's definitely gone. He kind of had a few prove-it, quote, games and where he really shined. He really shined and helped Green Bay get that. I believe it was the last playoff spot, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, they were. They were the 7th seed, right? And they went to Chicago. So Malik helped Green Bay, when Jordan Love was out, get to the playoffs. He showed off that mobility, showed off some accuracy. I believe Malik had a really high completion percentage this year, maybe his best in his career, I believe. So he was accurate with the football. Obviously, his mobility is a major factor. He's a dual-threat quarterback, dual-threat who hasn't really gotten a full chance, right? Brought in by Tennessee, goes to Green Bay. Where will he land now? And he will be a starter. He will be a starter. Whether you like that or whether you don't, Malik Willis in 2026 not only leads the free agent quarterback class, he will be a starter in 2026 on one of these 32 teams. And I guess the main question around him is, so if you do have doubt for him being a starter or I even have doubts about him being a long-term starter. But if you have doubts about him being a starter in 2026, it's probably the question of, is he a good enough passer to be that consistent starter? In terms of deep ball accuracy, in terms of pure arm dynamic ability, can he put all those pieces together? Because he has the literal mobility in his run game. He has kind of, can turn any play into a big-time play, any busted play into a positive play type of vibe with him, right? That's what you get a little bit with Malik Willis. Can he be a consistent enough downfield threat with his arm? It's probably the main question for Malik Willis entering 2026. And all this being said, here's where I have Malik Willis going in 2026. I think Malik Willis signs, and there's a few teams in the mix for sure. I think he signs with the New York Jets. Not the Dolphins, not the Cardinals, not the Steelers, the New York Jets. And here's my reasoning behind this. Frank Reich is their new offensive coordinator. Frank Reich has worked with several high-level quarterbacks, Peyton Manning being one of them, Andrew Luck, Bryce Young, a very long list. I could name plenty other quarterbacks as well along that list. Frank Reich has a history of turning quarterbacks into stars. I don't know if you want to call Bryce Young a star quite yet, but year after year after year, 3 years in the league, he's consistently gotten better. Frank Reich has worked with him. I think that attracts Malik Willis a little bit, alongside, obviously, the contract I think the Jets are going to give him. So I think a 2-year deal for Malik Willis, around $30-ish million a year. Why 2 years? Why the Jets? So Frank Reich, yes, a starting opportunity. Also, Malik, I'm sure, wants that. On top of that, it's going to be a 2-year deal for me because I think the Jets pass on a quarterback in this year's draft. They have the number 2 overall pick, probably going to go defense there, probably Arvo Reese out of Ohio State. They also have the number 16 overall pick in this draft as well. This is not a quarterback-friendly draft class. And I think the Jets, I've kind of learned their lesson with maybe reaching on quarterbacks too early. You get Malik Willis, start for you this year. In next year's draft, you draft your quarterback, you draft your guy. You have that guy sit 1 year behind Malik Willis. Then the next season, so 2028, Malik Willis is then a free agent. He's been with you 2 years. The guy you drafted in 2027 got to sit a year and learn the system. 2028, he's your starter. So it's a win-win on all fronts. Malik Willis gets some great experience as a starter, gets to work with Frank Reich. Then they bring in their guy in the next year's draft, let him sit a year, and then he comes in and replaces Malik Willis. That's how I see this going down. So I think the Jets should pass on a quarterback this year. They have a lot of other holes they need to fill. Again, the fire sale started with Sauce Gardner being gone or being traded and Quentin Williams being traded, right? Which needed to happen. They're rebuilding in the right direction. Sign Malik Willis. Get your quarterback next year. That's what I think the Jets should do. Let's see if they do that. Malik, to me, will be a New York Jet. Build around the quarterback position, then get your quarterback in 2027. That's what I think the Jets should do. Malik, New York Jet. Let's see. Next up, number 2, Kenneth Walker, running back, Seattle Seahawks, the reigning Super Bowl MVP of Super Bowl 60 from the Seattle Seahawks, Super Bowl 60 champions. He is gone. Part of me wanted to believe that he would come to a contract, negotiation and decision back to Seattle. From all the reports I've been seeing, Kenneth's gone, and it's mainly due to the fact because he had such a good playoffs with Zach Charbonnet out, being the main workhorse back there, he got to really shine throughout the playoffs and get a lot of opportunity. He maximized on that opportunity, and now he's going to maximize as much money as he can get in free agency. I mean, this playoffs really boosted Kenneth Walker's contract by, at least 30%. So he's going to go find a new home, and deservingly so, get a lot of money, given how he played in the playoffs and given how he's been playing for Seattle for the past several seasons. So I think he's gone. I would love to see him back in Seattle. I think he's gone. I think a lot of people would probably agree with me there, and a lot of reports do too. Over 1,700 total yards in the 2025-26 season. That includes playoffs. 9 total touchdowns as well. He's a beast. I don't have to really dive into what Kenneth Walker can do. You saw it all throughout the playoffs and even in the Super Bowl especially. being MVP, you saw what Big Ken can do. He's a beast. And honestly, he's pretty fresh, all things considered, having to split reps, with Zach Charbonnet as well. So he's been splitting reps. He's still very young. He has not been like this insane 30, 35, carries a game type of guy. He's fresh. He's young. He's coming off his best season, and he's a hot commodity in terms of teams wanting him in free agency. A lot of teams could use a running back like Kenneth Walker. And to name a few, here's some. Kansas City, Minnesota, even though Minnesota is in absolute cap hell. Giants, maybe Denver. New Orleans Saints, if Kamara goes bye-bye, which he probably will. The Cardinals, maybe moving on from James Conner with his age and his injury history. The Chargers, maybe a depth piece. A lot of teams would love a Big Ken, would love a Kenneth Walker addition to their squad in 2026. Not many teams need a running back, but a lot of teams would want, of course, a running back like Kenneth Walker because he's a difference maker. And you saw that not only this past season, but in years prior as well. After all this, I think he goes to New York and not the Jets, like I think where Malik Willis goes. I think he goes to the New York Giants. The Giants running back room, you may look at it, and question why I have him going to New York. Because it's Kenneth Walker, because the Giants have the cap to do it. Yes, they have Cam Scatterbo coming off a really tough injury. Yes, they have Devin Singletary there for veteran leadership. Yes, they have Tyrone Tracy. Does that running back room, including that injury from Scatterbo, yes, he will be coming back. Let's see how long that injury takes to heal from. Let's see how healthy he is out the gate. If the New York Giants have the opportunity to get a guy like Kenneth Walker, I think they should take it and run. He's probably going to be around, 12-ish, 13-ish $1 million range a year. Maybe a little bit more, right around 13, 14 if I had to guess. The Giants have that. And they could use a dynamic playmaker like Kenneth Walker. Then they get Charbonnet back. Not Charbonnet. They get a guy like Cam Scatterbo back from injury with that good depth, Singletary and Tracy. Then you pair him with Jackson Dart and Malik Neighbors. And yes, Wandale Robinson's leaving, but maybe they draft a wide receiver in the first round. That's been talked about. So this team's dynamic. They bring in Harbaugh. Harbaugh would love a guy like Kenneth Walker. Who wouldn't love a guy like Big Ken? But for the Giants, I think it makes sense. When you look at the running back room, maybe it fully doesn't to you, but it makes sense in terms of, yes, they have the cap, and yes, they could use a guy like that, as many teams would. So, again, there's a lot of teams that would be interested in Ken. I'm sure that are. Hard to just pick one. But my prediction is he goes to the New York Giants to be paired with Harbaugh and be the main guy and help out Scatterbo so he doesn't got to be the 20, 25, 30, carry a game workhorse out the gate when he's back from injury. Kenneth Walker, a New York Giant. Let's see. We will see. Moving on to number 3. He's the only guy I don't have a graphic for because quite honestly, I wasn't quite sure what stats to put up there. Yes, we could have done games played, maybe total sacks given up. Respect for offensive linemen. Absolute respect. And this player is one of the best offensive linemen in the game. Leaving the Baltimore Ravens, Tyler Linderbaum, center from Baltimore. And we could talk about like 20 to 30 different offensive linemen hitting free agency. We don't have full time for that unless you want the episode to go on for 3 hours, which honestly might be kind of fun. But we're going to highlight Linderbaum here because, yes, he plays center, which obviously there's only 32 of those starting in the NFL comparative to offensive guards and offensive tackles. But Linderbaum has been around the block in terms of experience and in terms of games played. I mean, this dude is an absolute machine, and that's why he's number 3 on this list for me, and that's why he is very much wanted by a lot of teams in this free agent market. 66 games played in 4 years with the Ravens. He's a 3-time Pro Bowler in those 4 seasons with Baltimore. But 66 games played, this guy is as trustable and as stable as you could want in a starting center in the NFL. A team in dire need of a center and really an entire offensive line is Houston. Houston's definitely interested. They're also interested in Teller from Cleveland. I think they land one of those 2 guys, but I'm worried Linderbaum for Houston might be a little too much of a cap hit. Houston doesn't have a ton of cap to work with at the moment. So I'm not going to predict him to Houston off the rip. It could be a possibility, 100%. But off the rip, I'm not going to put him going to Houston. Not quite. They also never make a move like this, apparently. Houston does not like to build O-line in free agency. That needs to change this year, 100%. But then they typically, doesn't mean they won't, but typically don't target a guy like this in free agency. They should. Definitely. So maybe they'll surprise me. But shifting away from that, I think the Chargers would be a home run signing on both fronts. Don't get me wrong. So he could go to the Chargers. Houston should be interested. Titans, Raiders will be interested. Of those 4 teams, I think Tyler Linderbaum signs with the Las Vegas Raiders. They're going to draft Mendoza number 1 overall. You get your quarterback. You have your running back. Offensive line-wise, they were one of the worst units in the NFL in 2025. When you draft your quarterback, what do you think he wants to be brought in free agency or drafted? He wants his center for the future. He wants to be taking the ball from a guy like Tyler Linderbaum for 3, 4, 5 years. Even longer, I'm sure. But when you go and get your quarterback number 1 overall, you got to make sure to protect him. Raiders have some of the best cap space in the NFL. Tyler Linderbaum to the Raiders makes too much sense. Too much sense. I really think this one's going to happen. You get your quarterback. You want to protect him for the future. You get him his center, a career-long center to play with. And Tyler Linderbaum is that guy. 3-time Pro Bowler in 4 years with the Ravens. They have the cap. You get your quarterback in Mendoza. You get Genty some freaking run help and some offensive line in front of him to block for him. Linderbaum is the perfect answer and the perfect choice to land in Las Vegas with the Raiders. And I can tell you both Genty and Mendoza would be grinning ear to ear if this move were to take place. Linderbaum to the Raiders. Book it. Again, appreciate you guys listening or tuning in or watching on YouTube. If you're not already, make sure you are subscribed and following on all the socials at the Swank Tank, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Spotify. Make sure to go and follow and subscribe over there. Appreciate you guys so much. Coming in at number 4, and I'm very excited to talk about this player. Mike Evans, wide receiver from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I'm excited to talk about Mike, but it also pains me at the same time to talk about him because he's already cemented into Buccaneers history as one of the best players to ever play for their franchise. 114 total touchdowns, including playoffs, in 11 seasons with the Bucs. 2025 was Mike Evans' first year in his NFL career to not record 1,000 receiving yards or more in a season. So entered the league in 2014. 2014 through 2024, Mike Evans had 1,000+ yards every single year. Oh, and 114 total touchdowns, including playoffs in 11 years with the Bucs. Absolute machine. Hall of Famer already. He's a Hall of Famer already. And he tied Jerry Rice for the longest record of 1,000-yard seasons, the streak all time. Tied Jerry Rice. 10 straight years of 1,000+ yards. Tied for the most all time with Jerry Rice. He's the 2021 Super Bowl champion. He has the most points in Buccaneers history for a non-kicker. I mean, the resume just goes on and on and on, page after page after page. When you look at Mike Evans coming from A&M, drafted by the Bucs, 10 straight seasons of 1,000 yards or more, and 114 total touchdowns, including playoffs. It's been a hell of a run for Mike Evans in Tampa Bay. Unfortunately, though, I really do think it ends. I really do think it's time for Mike Evans to get a change of scenery. I think the Bucs, at this moment, given their signings, offensive coordinator with Zach Robinson, giving them retaining head coach Todd Bowles, given where they're at roster-wise, I think they're honestly trending downward. I think Mike maybe knows that, and I think he just wants to maybe find a new home for the first time in his what will be his 12-year career. And I can't blame him. He's got a good amount still left in the tank. Obviously, last year he got injured to where he didn't get that 1,000 yards, but he's got a good amount still left in the tank. This is still a wide receiver 1 when healthy. 100%. And also 100%, he will go to a contender, right? Realistically, Mike's probably got 3 to 4 years left? Probably 4 years, 4 good years left before maybe he starts to contemplate really retiring around there. he's going to a contender. He deserves to go to a contender. Yeah, he's got a Super Bowl ring. I mean, he's the man. But also, he at this point in his career, given all of his successes, no way he's not going to go, to a team that can't compete, right? Mike Evans is going to a contender. And when you look at reports or you try to listen to media around the league talk about Mike Evans, there hasn't really been any stirrings about where he's going to go. But I have an absolute home run spot for Mike Evans. You ready for it? The 49ers wouldn't be bad. Don't get me wrong. That would play very, very well for the Bucs and Brock Purdy. Or excuse me, for the 49ers and Brock Purdy. Mike Evans to the Buffalo Bills. Bean, make it happen. You look at the Buffalo Bills, they need star power out at the wide receiver position. There's been a lot of mock drafts with the Bills drafting a wide receiver in the first round. They just 2 years ago drafted Keon Coleman in the second round. That wide receiver room, all things considered, is very young. Shavers, who had the major injury at the end of the season, we'll see. He won't be healthy probably-ish for the start of 2026. So Shavers, kind of a question mark. Shakir's the wide receiver one right now. He's good, don't get me wrong. The position needs to be upgraded. We don't know what Keon Coleman's future holds. Shavers is injured. You can upgrade from, Shakir in terms of pure wide receiver one ability. Mike Evans in Buffalo would be incredible. They need a veteran presence in that room. Think of it in a little bit of a sense of a Stephon Diggs to New England. A young, pretty young, all things considered, wide receiver room in New England, led by Stephon Diggs, wide receiver one. Mike Evans to Buffalo would be unbelievable. I think Mike would like it, going to obviously a major contender, playing with Josh Allen. I think obviously Buffalo would love it, getting the veteran experience, getting the Super Bowl champion, getting the 1,000-yard machine Mike Evans is, a downfield threat, a big-bodied wide receiver like Mike, paired with Josh Allen. Are you kidding me? I'm putting this out there into the universe. Mike Evans to Buffalo. Can you imagine? I can, and I do. Mike, please go to Buffalo. I mean, that would be absolute must-see TV. And go get another ring. Help Josh get his first. Mike to Buffalo. That'd be fantastic. Moving on here to number 5. First defensive player? It is our first defensive player on the list. Jalen Phillips, edge, Philadelphia Eagles. The former Dolphin had 5 sacks in 2025. He's got great speed off of the edge, as we all know. One of the top defensive players in the free agent market of 2026. Main reason for that, he can rush the passer at a high level. He's got great hands. And again, he's got that quickness off the edge that you love to see. Not only can he get upfield to rush the passer, he's great at setting the edge and being able to track down running backs, sweeps, all those good things that require speed on the edge itself. So Jalen Phillips is a very versatile player in terms of his athletic ability, making him one of the highest defensive targets in this free agent class. A lot of teams, when it comes to defense, and especially defensive line, I mean, you could pick really any team out of a hat and say, oh yeah, he'd be a good fit on this team or this team. A lot of teams would always love an addition of a elite edge or, a guy like Jalen Phillips. So it's hard to exactly predict and track where I'll think he'll go, but we're in the business right now of making predictions for these players. So I'm going to give you 3, and then we'll narrow it down to 1. You tell me which 3 sounds best. Jalen Phillips' new home. Could it be Cincinnati? Could it be the LA Chargers? Or how about the Seattle Seahawks? I'm asking you, of those 3 teams, where do you think Jalen Phillips should go? Because the Bengals and Chargers definitely have the cap for it. Seattle, maybe not so much, but again, they're losing some big-time defensive pieces, starting with Mafe on the edge. So losing Mafe on the edge, bringing in Phillips to reset that edge. I mean, Seattle's defense is already loaded, but they are losing some key players. Chargers could definitely use an edge piece here like Jalen Phillips, and the Bengals losing Trey Hendrickson as well. So these are 3 teams I wanted to highlight for Jalen. There could definitely be more in the mix, 100%. Hard to really pinpoint a place for a player like this, given the market right now and just given how much of an athlete and how much of a true baller he is in Jalen Phillips. So those are the 3 I like to highlight for him. I think 2 of the 3 are real-time contenders. I think Jalen Phillips, I'm going to say he's a Charger. I'm calling Jalen Phillips to the Chargers. There's been a lot of mock drafts with the Chargers going with an edge in the first first round, second round, because they definitely need it. And I'm going to pick Jalen Phillips to go to the Chargers. They definitely have the cap for it. I can tell you that. They're getting some big-time offensive line pieces back. They can still improve in that position 100%. So they could go O-line first round. But if they don't, they could go edge. If they don't go edge, and they go edge here with Jalen Phillips, they'll probably go O-line in the first round. Phillips would be fantastic being paired with Harbaugh, and I just love it. I really do. And it makes sense cap-wise and makes sense need-wise. So Jalen Phillips to the Chargers, would love to see that. Brings great speed, great pop. Chargers, man, they got the cap, and they got players coming back. I mean, this is going to be a really dynamic Chargers team. And they're very much on the climb for 2026. Bringing in the guy like Phillips, that would help. We just touched on a big-time edge player in Jalen Phillips. Let's go to another edge player here in Trey Hendrickson, edge from the Cincinnati Bengals. Big Mr. Trey, welcome to the official free agent market, I should say. Last year had a lot of contract disputes, was very much looking to leave Cincinnati, gets a 1-year extension, gets injured in 2025 with a core muscle injury, so he only played 7 games this past season. The 2 seasons prior, though, had 17 and a half sacks in both of those years. So 23 and 24 had 17 and a half sacks in both those years. Very much still an elite edge and defensive talent. Drafted by the Saints in 2017. Some people actually forget that. I had to be reminded of that, in all honesty. I knew it, but kind of forgot about it. Drafted by the Saints in 2017, Hendrickson now enters his 10th year in the league. With players like this, and like Phillips, like we already talked about, my initial instinct is that they want to contend, right? Most players in free agency want to go to a contender. Some like to chase the bag a little bit more. You see that pretty commonly. To me, Trey seems like a guy that would take slight less money to go play on a real-time contender. That's the vibe I get from him. And listening to Schefter speak on Part of My Take, or listening, to kind of some of his reports, he wants to be in Florida, is what my understanding is. Trey Hendrickson, I believe, has a home in Florida. Maybe he was raised there. He has some correlation to Florida. I believe he wants to be in Florida. That's what I've come to understand. And so if you want to be in Florida, you got 3 teams. You got the Bucks, you got the Jags, you got the Dolphins. And Lord knows he's not going to Miami. Unless he got like 30, 35 mil, 40 mil a year, which would never happen. Nobody wants to go to Miami. Can't blame them. So that really boils it down to 2 teams to get this very, very much still a star premier edge player in the NFL. So which one? When you look at the Jags, a guy like Devin Lloyd's probably leaving the building, opens up a spot maybe for Hendrickson to enter, right? When you look at the Bucks, they have better cap. So, and the Bucks are also losing Hassan Reddick, most likely, in free agency. So they both have openings. The Bucks have a little bit more cap space. I'm going with the Bucks. Give me Trey Hendrickson to the Buccaneers on a pretty solid contract, pretty large contract that gets done. Give me Hendrickson to land in Tampa Bay. And I mentioned how I think Tampa Bay is on a downward trajectory. I really think they are. I'm a little bit worried about them entering 2026, all things considered, given the parity of the league. This would help, respond to that downward trending. At least, again, my opinion, they're downward trending. So a signing like Trey Hendrickson, if you can get him for, nothing too crazy, would be a big-time help on the edge in Tampa Bay. You got Vita Vea in the middle, of course. You're going to lose Hassan Reddick most likely. This would be an upgrade at the position if they can afford it. He wants to stay in Florida. Trey Hendrickson is a Tampa Bay Buccaneer. We'll see if that one lands. Moving on here to number 7. Maybe the most interesting offensive player to be in the free agent 2026 class. Alec Pierce, wide receiver from the Indianapolis Colts. He had over 1,000 yards in 2025. That's the most he's had in his 4-year career with the Indianapolis Colts. He also had 6 touchdowns to go along with that. Pierce is ready to, I think, move on from Indianapolis, get a real-time quarterback. I mean, let's be real. Was Anthony Richardson or Daniel Jones really cutting it when you look at the league across the board? No. So coming off his best year, coming off over, I believe, listen to this number for Pierce in 2025, 21.3 yards per catch. He is the deep threat guy, and he's ready to go catch deep balls from a legitimate quarterback. Or is he? What am I alluding to here? I'm alluding that, yeah, he's ready to go get the bag. He's ready to move on. And you would think, go to a team with an actual quarterback. Go to a team with an established quarterback. That's what I just alluded to, right? I'm going to throw you a curveball because I don't think he goes to a team with an established quarterback. This is a deep, deep threat, like we've mentioned. And, maybe a team like the Saints can be in play with their great answer at quarterback, right? And Tyler over there. Give me Pierce to go to the Las Vegas Raiders. We have Linderbaum going there. Give me Pierce to also land in Las Vegas. They get their quarterback of the future in Mendoza, but they have a lot of cap. And that wide receiver room is probably the worst in the NFL when looking across the other 31 teams. I mean, Trey Tucker leads that wide receiver room. Jack Betch, however you want to pronounce it, from TCU is in the wide receiver room. Who else they got over there? Yes, Brock Bowers, of course. Looking at the pure wide receiver position, the Raiders and Alec Pierce, to me, makes a lot of sense. You get your quarterback for the future. You have your running back. You have your tight end. You maybe bring in the guy like Linderbaum to be center. You need your deep threat. You need your guy from Mendoza to just say, every now and then, chalk it up. I'll just close my eyes and boink, throw it downfield 50, 60 yards. See if Pierce can go make a play. That's who Alec Pierce is. You saw that with his over 21 yards per catch in 2025. So I think Pierce to the Raiders, not only does it fit well, I think it makes a lot of sense. So look out for that. If I got this one right, I will give myself definitely a pat on the back because he can really go anywhere. He said, actually on Wednesday, he, quote, earned the right to move on from the Colts and go into free agency and test the market. I agree, given the year he just had, given the Daniel Jones injury, having to work with, other quarterbacks throughout the season. And I think he lands in Las Vegas. I really, really do. I'm very confident in this one, even though we don't have a main lead as to where he's going to go. But the wide receiver room needs work. They have a lot of cap. They need a deep threat. They bring in Mendoza. They're going to rebolster the O-line. They have the running back. They have the tight end. Pierce would be a phenomenal addition to the Raiders in 2026. Phenomenal. Moving on to number 8. Devin Lloyd, linebacker from the Jacksonville Jaguars. 5 interceptions in 2025. That's more than his previous seasons combined. All of them. So the most picks in his career in 2025, he had 5 of them. That 5 is more than all of his previous years combined. So he was kind of a ball hawk, honestly, all things considered. He's dynamic. He's speedy. He's only missed a handful of games in his 4 years in the league with Jacksonville. And I think with a lot of these defensive players, right, a lot of teams are in contention for a guy like Devin Lloyd, for a guy like Trey Hendrickson, for a guy like Jalen Phillips. With Devin Lloyd most likely leaving Jacksonville, there's a lot of destination spots. There's a lot. The Bengals would be a great fit. The Steelers would be pretty good. The Cowboys would make a lot of sense as well. So here's where I'm going to go with. I'm going to go with, man, this one's tough. This one's tough to make a full-time prediction on. I'm going to go Devin Lloyd from Jacksonville going to the Dallas Cowboys. They have the cap that is now created from Dak's contract being restructured, CeeDee Lamb's contract being restructured, a few other big-time moves as well. They have the cap, and they're still creating that cap to land one major defensive free agent. It might be a guy like Hendrickson, maybe. It might be a guy like Phillips, maybe. They might really address that defensive line really more at edge, right, in that outside linebacker position in the draft, in a guy like Sonny Styles, if he falls to them from Ohio State. But Devin Lloyd really fits the Jaguars mold, really fits the Cowboys mold, in my opinion, if they can afford him. So, again, the Cowboys could use him. The Steelers could use him. The Bengals could definitely use him with Hendrickson walking out the door. I mean, Seattle can maybe use him when losing a guy like Mafe to free agency. A lot of teams would love a premier talent like Devin Lloyd. Lloyd to Dallas, I just see it, and it fits. Cap is a little bit of an issue. They've created a good amount. They're no longer negative, and I'm sure they can pull some more strings to find some more money to pay Devin Lloyd. Lloyd's not going to absolutely break your bank, but he's going to be somewhat expensive. That's for sure. If Dallas can afford him, I think it'd be great. Defensive coordinator over there in Dallas. Really love the hire coming over from the Eagles. Overshown should be back and healthy, most likely in 2026. They have Quentin Williams in the middle. Secondary needs a lot of work, but never hurts to upgrade at linebacker. Let's go Devin Lloyd from Jacksonville to Dallas. All right, let's keep this train moving over here. Still got several players to touch on and talk about in this crazy 2026 free agent class. We're on number 9. Let's go with Dallas Goedert, tight end from the Philadelphia Eagles. This guy isn't considered to be, according to a lot of people, a major free agent in 2026. I moved him straight up my ranks to number 9 because this dude by far had his best season with the Philadelphia Eagles. This dude is by far the best tight end free agent on the market by a wide margin. And I think 31 other teams would love a tight end like Dallas Goedert. 13 total touchdowns for Goedert in the 2025 season, by far his best mark, like we mentioned. A core piece to the Philadelphia Eagles offense. Goedert now is entering his 9th season in the league, and he is an elite downfield threat. You see it with the touchdown numbers, but also if you're just watching the Philadelphia Eagles, he's been a core component to their offense year after year after year. And this year, he got a little bit more opportunity in the passing game across the board, and he capitalized on that. He had 2 touchdowns in their playoff loss to the 49ers. He's very, very talented. He's very, very skilled, and he's got some great experience. In Philly, he's been a core piece to them for several seasons, now entering his 9th year. And I haven't said this about anybody yet of the other 8 players we've talked about. I think Goedert stays. I think Dallas Goedert will hit free agency or maybe right before get re-signed by Philadelphia. If he doesn't get re-signed right before, I think he enters the market and then kind of lands back in Philly if they can afford him. I don't think he wants to leave. I think he's happy in Philly. I think he's got a great relationship with Jalen Hurts, that organization as a whole, the front office. Goddard's just a Philly guy, and he's already been there 8 years. He's home. It's comfortable for him. He just is coming off his best season. I think Philly should pay him the money. I really do. And you just saw his best season in Philly. You saw the relationship continue to grow with Hurts. He's the man. And especially if you're thinking of shipping off a guy like A.J. Brown, more targets to go around, more football to be shared, that ball could be going to Goddard even more than we saw in 2025. So if they're really considering moving on from A.J. Brown, saving money there, maybe getting some more draft capital in return, whatever shakes out from the A.J. Brown situation, if they do move him, then they really should sign Dallas Goedert. Regardless, I think he should come back, and I think the Eagles should make him a big-time offer. Another new offensive coordinator, though, in Philly. They bring in Sean Mannion to work with this team with Barkley and Smith, and at the moment, A.J. Brown and maybe Dallas Goedert and a guy like Jalen Hurts. It's a very, very dynamic offense. I don't got to tell you that. But Goedert is kind of that third option that doesn't really get talked about enough coming off his best season. So I think Dallas Goedert stays in Philly. I think he's kind of old reliable for Jalen Hurts in that Eagles organization. When, crap hits the fan, they go to Goedert. And you saw that this year with 13 total touchdowns, including the playoffs. So Goedert with a new OC as well, I think he stays. I think he stays because he would greatly help Sean Mannion in his first year. And he's just, the relationship in Philly, it just makes a lot of sense. I think Goedert stays in the building. He stays with the Eagles in 2026. Moving on to player number 10. We've already said his name a few times in this episode. Boye Mafe, edge from the Seattle Seahawks. The numbers don't jump off the page from 2025, but he had 9 sacks in the 2023 regular season for Seattle. Maffei's entering his 5th season. He played all 4 prior with the Seattle Seahawks. That's where he was drafted. And he can be a very solid piece to any defense he joins. He's not going to be a pure game changer. He's not going to be a pure game wrecker. But he will be a guy that can get after the quarterback, and he does a really good job of setting the edge as well. He's obviously now a Super Bowl champion. He's got 4 years under his belt. He's not going to break your bank. You're going to have to pay him, but he's not going to break your bank. And this is not going to be a guy that comes in and immediately changes your defense to be from, bottom 15 to a top 5, top 10 unit. He's not a Max Crosby. He's not a Trey Hendrickson type of talent. But he's a very solid piece that can do a lot of damage. And he's still, yes, he has the experience like I talked about. He's a Super Bowl champion. Still very young. Just entering his 5th season. So we haven't really seen the ceiling from Maffei. In 2023, that was his best year, again with 9 sacks. But I still feel like there's some untapped potential with him, which makes him a really intriguing target in this free agent market. Almost all teams can use a guy like this. We've said that for all these edge rushers because it's true. Who doesn't want to upgrade at edge, right? It's not like, oh, they've got a running back. They don't need him. Right? It's like, yeah, we can almost always upgrade at edge. Unless you're maybe like the Broncos and the Texans. Yeah, you could probably upgrade at edge, right? So it's different when you're looking defensively and offensively for free agent pieces and predicting where they're going to go. Because a lot of teams are probably interested in a guy like Maffei to be a core piece of that defense. With that being said, we had Devin Lloyd leaving Jacksonville, going to the Cowboys. Let's go with Maffei to the Jags. You're not going to have to pay him quite as much as I'm assuming you'd have to pay Devin Lloyd. So Maffei, a little bit less of a cap space burden, but still a really good core piece that would help the Jags in 2026 maintain what they had in 2026, all things considered, a pretty good pass rush, led by Josh Hines-Allen, right? And yes, Devin Lloyd, but he'll be leaving. I think it'd be a good replacement and a little bit of a cheaper one if Devin Lloyd does indeed leave. So give me Boye Mafe, the recent Super Bowl champ, going to Jacksonville to help set that edge, keep it strong for a little bit of a cheaper price tag than maybe a Devin Lloyd would be getting. Mafe to the Jags. Coming in at number 11, and maybe he shouldn't be quite this high, but I really like this player, and I'm sad to see him leaving Chicago because I think he fits that mold so well. Jaquan Brisker, safety from the Chicago Bears. He's been a solid piece for this Bears defense since entering the league in 2022. He's a high-energy guy. He flies around the field, but on top of that, he will take your head off. It's actually led to a few concussions. He will take your head off. And a lot of teams want a guy like Brisker because they love his energy, and this is a baller. This is a safety that is not afraid to hit. He's a little bit like a Petrie in the sense of he will want to destroy you. And who doesn't want a guy like that in their secondary, leading their secondary? He's not going to be an absolute lockdown guy in terms of pure coverage. He sometimes can get beat, as most safeties do. He sometimes can get beat. But you cannot deny the intensity and the grit that a guy like Brisker plays with. And when you bring in a guy like that, you just feel his energy, right? And it's contagious. And so seeing Brisker leave Chicago, honestly, kind of sad to me. I think Chicago fits him perfectly. Maybe he goes back. I've heard that's not going to happen. If he does leave, here's a few different destinations for him. And again, he'll be bringing the pop wherever he lands, playing like his head's on fire, hair's on fire. Maybe both. You get the quote. We're not perfect over here. The Seahawks could be a good fit. The Cowboys could be a good fit. I like both those teams a lot to be in contention here, potentially. Let's pick one of those. Let's go Jaquan Brisker to the Seattle Seahawks. Can't you see that one? Can't you see Jaquan Brisker in a Seattle Seahawks uniform, in that kind of dark navy, in that almost lime green? Because I pick Seattle given I think they're going to lose Reek Woolen, and I think they're also going to lose Kobe Bryant to free agency. So losing both those guys, secondary needs to be bolstered up. And obviously Kobe Bryant was their starting safety. They have Witherspoon back there. That's great. They have Amenwari. That's great. But when you lose your starting safety, yeah, you got to replace him. Sure, the draft's there if you want. Brisker fits the Mike McDonald mold perfectly. If it's not Chicago, I want Brisker in Seattle. Again, they're not the Legion of Boom, but they sure do play like it. And Brisker is a guy that would fit the Seattle mold so well. He's got great experience, was in the playoffs this year, played a lot of snaps for the Bears, has played a lot of snaps for the Bears. High-intensity guy that I think Mike McDonald would frickin' love. I think he'd love him. Brisker to Seattle. Woolen's probably gone. Kobe Bryant's probably gone. Helps fill that void a little bit. Makes a lot of sense. Let's go Brisker to the Seahawks. At number 12, a guy released on Wednesday, or they let him know of their intentions to be released on Wednesday. Kyler Murray, quarterback, Arizona Cardinals. We knew this one was coming. 7 seasons in Arizona. The Murray experiment is finally over. After a promising first 3 seasons with the Cardinals, Murray dealt with a few big injuries the rest of the way. You know the story. Injury, had a good 2024, but other years was very, very injured. Only played 5 games in 2025 before missing the rest of the season. Brissett comes in. They were a mess. No Murray, right? Marvin Harrison in and out of the lineup. No James Conner. DeMercado's fumbling before the goal line, or dropping the ball, I should say, before the goal line. Gannon's yelling at him on the sideline. The Cardinals, kind of a mess in 2025 when you look at not only their roster, but just their outcome from the season. And now they get rid of a chaotic piece that's due a lot of money in Kyler Murray. So a lot of dead cap will be taken with this move, but I think it's a correct move for the Cardinals. With that being said, where does he land? So we know Kyler's very talented. He's had a lot of strong years in the league, but injury history, of course, is the main concern when looking at a guy like Kyler Murray. Can he remain healthy? Can he be your starter given his recent health scares and injuries? That's the big question. That's not a take. That's a fact. Anybody who knows ball, watches this league, follows this league closely, knows that and knows that about Kyler Murray as well. So the question is, where will Kyler land? This one's tough. I have Willis to the Jets. Let's go, and I don't think you're ready for this. I'm going to give you 3 seconds to guess. I'm going to give you 3 seconds to think about where you think Kyler Murray should go. Go ahead. Take those 3 seconds. I'm very curious what you said. I don't think you have the team I'm going to pick here. The Bengals. I want Kyler Murray to go to the Bengals. Here's why. A few weeks ago, I went off on Zach Taylor and the Bengals rolling over when injuries happen to that team. You can't control injuries, I get it. But at this point in their keep retaining Zach Taylor to be the coach in 2026, in this season approaching, if the Bengals aren't preparing for some form of injury in 2026, or they're not preparing depth-wise to battle potential injuries, it's a freaking problem. The Bengals should know better by now to be ready for a potential injury. We never hope for injuries. We never want to see it, and you can never predict them. I hope no injuries happen for the Bengals in 2026. But God damn it, Zach Taylor, God damn it, that entire front office, prepare like somebody's going to get injured. Okay? They haven't learned that lesson yet, and that was apparent in 2025 because when they were hurt, they gave up. It was clear. You can't control injuries, I get it. How about you prepare for them, though? Bring in Kyler Murray. Where is Kyler going to land? If it's not the Jets, what, maybe Pittsburgh? Maybe Miami? Who else needs a starter? The Raiders won't after the draft. Where's he going to go? He's not going back to the Cardinals. They just released him. Kyler Murray to the Bengals would be perfect. Perfect. He'll get a decent contract. He doesn't have to do anything off the rip. And he's there just in case. The Bengals need to learn. The Bengals should go get Kyler Murray as backup. Learn from your previous years. Prepare for the worst. Kyler Murray, you're a Bengal. At least I would like to see that. We'll see if they even consider that. Flacco's gone in free agency, so there is a need for a backup. Unless you like Jake Browning to be backup. I don't think that worked out last year. Kyler Murray to the Bengals. It would be great to see, and I would love the Bengals to go make a move like that. Go get a backup just in case he needs to come in and win a few games for you. Don't give up when an injury happens. Prepare for the worst. Kyler to the Bengals. I would love to see it. Number 13, Jamal Dean, cornerback, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Entering his 8th season, Dean has spent all 7 of his previous years with the Bucs and has been a key piece since day 1 for that secondary unit. He's played at least 12 games or more in every single year he's played, so sometimes the best ability is availability. You get a lot of that from Jamal Dean, all things considered. Jamal Dean, excuse me. And the veteran experience can't be overlooked. I mean, yes, 7 years with the Bucs, but a lot of playoff experience, a lot of games played as a Super Bowl champion. Dean also is coming off maybe one of his best years in year 7. 3 interceptions and had one of the lowest completion percentages given up across the league in 2025. So Dean still has plenty left in the tank. He's very much still in his prime. The 3 interceptions this year were the most in his career in a single season. Again, was a lockdown in 2025. Maybe more than you wanted to believe in 2025. This was a elite secondary piece. He has been for a while, but in 2025, he was damn good. Damn good. And that's going to demand a pretty big contract. So where does a guy like Dean, a veteran player like Dean, a veteran leader go? This one may also shock you just a little bit. I initially wanted to say Rams, but the McDuffie trade happened. We'll end the show just touching on that for a quick second. I wanted to say Rams, but I had to change it. Let's go with Dean to the Chiefs. That lines up, doesn't it? They trade away McDuffie. They get a big amount of capital for McDuffie there. It was number 29 overall in this year's draft, a 5th and a 6th. Good amount of capital for him. You don't got to pay him. Now let's bring in a guy like Dean. Pay him just maybe a smidge bit less than you were going to pay McDuffie. So you get a little bit less pay, or you retain a little bit more cap in paying Dean maybe than McDuffie, and you got a 1st rounder and a 5th and a 6th in return. So there's an opening for the Chiefs, and maybe they use that 29th overall pick to get a corner. Maybe they go with a corner even earlier, a guy like Mansour Delane from LSU. With their, I believe it's the 9th overall pick for the Chiefs. Maybe they use that new draft pick on a corner or their initial one. But if not, I think Dean should be a target for them. Brings that veteran leadership, veteran experience to the team. Still very much in his prime. I think Dean to the Chiefs makes a lot of sense. And I think he'd be damn good back there helping that secondary get bolstered up with the loss of McDuffie. Let's see. We'll see about that one. But Dean's going to have a lot of options and he's going to get paid. The Chiefs, to me, I see it. We got 2 players left to predict, number 14 and 15, and these are 2 dynamic offensive players. Number 14, maybe my most slept on player in this free agent class. Wan'Dale Robinson, wide receiver from the New York Giants, coming off his best season in 2025 with over 1,000 yards. He is very slept on, in my opinion. And he's quick. Yes, he's small. He's like 5'8", I think. He's small, but he is quick. He is twitchy. He is a downfield threat. And he put up 1,000 yards with, majority of the season Dart, also a little bit of Winston. This is a damn good player. And a player I think is honestly slept on. And so that's why I think he's one of my most slept on players in this free agent class overall as well. Explosive. He's quick. Let's go Wan'Dale Robinson to the San Francisco 49ers. I have Mike Evans to the Bills. Let's go Robinson to the 49ers. And they're losing a guy like Jawan Jennings, the 49ers are. Brandon Ayuk is no longer with the organization. Deebo Samuel obviously wasn't there last year. So Samuel obviously wasn't there last year. Ayuk gone for good. And Jawan Jennings, he's walking away in free agency. Those were your key 3 guys just 2 years ago. Now you have none of them. Kittle battling an injury. Let's see how fast he can return, how healthy he's going to be. That room is depleted. Brock's got to throw to somebody not named Christian McCaffrey. How about Wando Robinson? He's not going to break your bank whatsoever. The 49ers have a good amount of cap space. I believe they've got like the 11th best cap in the NFL as we currently record this Thursday morning. Wandale and the Niners would be fantastic. Yes, they have a Ricky Pearsall. You saw how many games he missed last season. They need a wide receiver. They could definitely draft one. Maybe they still do. Wandale brings the twitchiness and the speed that the Niners have kind of lacked since Debo left. It makes a lot of sense to me. He's a deep downfield threat. He's played a lot of games over his past few seasons in the NFL, so he's consistent. He's reliable, coming off his best season. But I just love the speed and dynamic ability he brings. I think the 49ers and Kyle, oh my God. Can you imagine Wando Robinson with Kyle Shanahan? The route tree, he will have him drawn up in the slot. Deep ball machine. Wandale to the 49ers would be electric. Electric. He's so slept on, in my opinion, coming off a great year. Number 15, our last free agent we'll talk about and predict here. Travis Etienne, running back from the Jacksonville Jaguars. 3 of his 4 years, he's had over 1,000 yards on the ground. He's a very good pass-catching back alongside that as well. I believe he had 6 receiving touchdowns this season, his most in his career in a single year. You know what Travis Etienne can do. In 2024, had a down year. The Jaguars had a very interesting organizational year in 2024, lacking a lot of identity. You bring in Gladstone, you bring in Liam Cohen, you bring in a guy like Jacoby Myers. This team has really solidified its identity, or it did in 2025. They have Tootin behind Etienne. If Etienne were to not get re-signed, I think there's a decent chance he re-signs. If he were to walk, you know what this guy can do. Again, resurgent year in 2025 compared to 2024. Dynamic, both on the ground and in the air. Versatile, for sure. The Saints could definitely be a destination here for Etienne to replace Kamara. The Chiefs could get their guy here in Etienne and maybe not draft Jeremiah Love at number 9. There's a few different places. So Saints, Chiefs, maybe Denver. I don't see him pairing well with Harvey, though. Let's go Travis Etienne to the Washington Commanders. You look at that Commanders room, you got Bill, Big Bill over there, who had an interesting rookie campaign. You got Chris Rodriguez. You got Jeremy McNichols, I believe. It's a very weak room. It's a very weak room over there in Washington. And I don't believe I left anybody out. I might have, but regardless, they need a running back. Washington needs a running back. Maybe they draft one, right? Maybe so. If they don't, I think Etienne to the Commanders would be fantastic. Jaden Daniels, Terry McLaurin, Travis Etienne. It's a dynamic offense for first-year offensive coordinator David Blow. So I would like for the Commanders to be a little bit aggressive, maybe in this running back market. Maybe like a guy like Etienne, maybe Kenneth Walker. Etienne to me fits this mold. And fits the Commanders' vibe here with Jaden Daniels and Terry McLaurin in first year OC David Blow. So I would love to see Etienne in Washington. I think it makes a lot of sense, and they have the cap for it. Etienne to the Commanders. He's dynamic in the air and on the ground. That'd be fun to see. That would be very, very, nice little voice track there. Fun to see. And that is predicting our 15, not the only, of course, but our major here 15 free agents we chose to talk about on the show. We talked about their seasons. We predicted where they're going to go. Real quick to round out this episode. McDuffie, he was traded on Wednesday to the LA Rams for the number 29 overall pick, 5th rounder and 6th rounder, and a 2027 third. I forgot to mention that as well. So a 1st, a 3rd, a 5th, and a 6th. Big haul for Trent McDuffie. Huge. And the Rams get their lockdown corner. They are so poised for a Super Bowl run. They still have a 1st-round pick as well. They still have one. So they traded one away for McDuffie in a 3rd, a 5th, and a 6th. But they still have a 1st, too, on top of that. They're locked and loaded. Stephon Diggs, Johnny Smith released as well. Those are 2 other big-time names. And there's a lot of other names out there we didn't even touch on. These are just 15 we wanted to highlight and predict. If you made it all the way through the episode, I appreciate you so much. Hope you liking the upgraded graphics, the updated microphone, the audio, the upgraded header above me that you're seeing if you're watching on YouTube. A lot of hard work behind the scenes, within the shows being put in, on socials being put in. Really hope you're enjoying all this stuff. Slowly but surely, we're getting there, people. Make sure to share, like, subscribe, follow on all the socials. Appreciate you more than you know. Free agency is always so fun. Hope you had fun listening or watching to this episode. I had a fun time prepping it and getting ready for it. And doing some show upgrades. That's what it's all about. Appreciate you so much. Enjoy your free agency. Enjoy your weekend. Come Monday, it's going to be a frenzy. It's going to be crazy. Let's see what moves your team makes. Hopefully some good ones. We will see you next Thursday morning. Have a good weekend.